Hello and welcome from my little reading space here in Vienna. My name is Luise, I'm a literature student and writer, and today I have a little book haul for you because I escalated a little bit in my book shopping, and yeah, this is what I came home with. And if you saw my vlog, my last video, then you already know that I went to a bookstore because I had a gift voucher, and my brain did a little bit of manipulating here. Today's episode of How to Manipulate Yourself to Buy More Books Without Feeling Guilty with Luise. Because I had the gift voucher and the maths in my head worked as followed. I could buy 1 or 2 books more than the gift voucher covers because it's not that much, and then I ended up buying a lot more books than just 1 or 2, and it felt like it was still for free, even though it wasn't. But anyways, let's get into it. I bought a lot of Austrian literature because I need to prepare for my Defensio, where I obviously need to have a very good background knowledge of Austrian literature, and then I also have lots of books that I bought specifically for my master thesis. These are all secondhand books that have nothing to do with my bookshop escalation a couple of weeks ago. So I bought them online on secondhand platforms, but it gets a little bit tiring when you always use the books from the library, where first of all you can't mark anything, you always have to work with post-its, and also you have to return them when other people need them. So I figured that some of the books that I need regularly and that I'm working with very intensely, I should own them. Let's get started with the books that I bought at the bookshop in Vienna. It's a book chain. It's called Thalia. I'm not recommending it because, as I said, it's a chain. It's obviously problematic. There are wonderful little bookshops in Vienna. Since I had my gift voucher, that's why I went there, but I might do an extra video where I can show you some very lovely bookstores here in Vienna. Going into the bookshop, I had to be selective, even though I did buy quite a lot. I love Stefan Zweig. He's a very interesting Austrian author. I have mentioned him quite a few times. I also wrote a seminar paper about his work. Stefan Zweig lived in the early 1900s. He's also known as an exile, what's the English translation? Exil-Literat, as an exile author because he had to flee during the Second World War. He was Jewish and he went to Brazil. He has a very beautiful writing style. I also think that it is okay to understand if your German level isn't super advanced, but it's still a very beautiful way of describing things. I love reading his novels. There is this one novel, it's called Chess Novel, and in German Schachnovelle. I have read this in school and I love it very much, but I did not have a copy of it, so I thought this is the time. It's quite short. I'm going to read you the blurb. It's in German. Schach dem König. An Bord eines Passagierdampfers von New York nach Buenos Aires wird Schach gespielt. Was als harmloser Zeitvertreib beginnt, ruft in Dr. B. traumatische Erinnerungen an seine Zeit als Gefangener der Gestapo in Österreich wach. Im brasilianischen Exil vollendet und nur wenige Tage vor seinem Selbstmord 1942 an seinen Verleger verschickt, gilt die Schachnovelle als Stefan Zweigs bekanntestes Werk. So in this blurb it says it's about chess, it's about a crossing from Europe to Brazil, and it shows how the protagonist kind of goes through traumatic memories through playing chess again. And it's just a very interesting book. And at the end, it says that Stefan Zweig himself, he also went to exile in Brazil, but he and his wife, they killed themselves in, 1942. And this was one of his last novels that was published. There is another book by Stefan Zweig called Die Welt von Gestern, where he is reflecting on Europe from the old days before the world wars, and he's kind of telling the story of his generation, so to say. I think this is going to be very interesting. Really looking forward to reading about Vienna in its old days. I always love these historical aspects. The next author is Arthur Schnitzler. He's also an important name in Austrian literature. This one is a collection of some of his short stories and novellas, because I have read some of his work, but I felt like some kind of collection would be nice. I'm just going to read you what it says on the blurb. Sicherheit ist nirgends. Diese Grunderfahrung der Wiener Moderne wird bei keinem anderen Autor so anschaulich und greifbar wie bei Arthur Schnitzler. Sigmund Freud hat in ihm seinen Doppelgänger erkannt und auch für uns heutige Leser wirkt die Unruhe der Welt, von der Schnitzler erzählt, wieder unheimlich aktuell. Arthur Schnitzler is one of the most important names for the Viennese modernism. I am writing my master thesis around this time and focusing on female authorship, and I also think it's important to read some of the male authors as well and just to know what are the famous names of this time. The next book is by Thomas Bernhard. This is a bit of a different generation. This book is called Heldenplatz, and I have a bit of a difficult relationship to Thomas Bernhard because we read it at school, not this exact book, but one of his books. And I absolutely hated it. I really despised it. It wasn't interesting to read for me when I was at school, but that's the thing with, reading books at school. You often don't really find a way into the story because you are preoccupied, being forced into reading this book. You don't have a choice. I didn't like it, so I have to give it another chance. It's a very important author, and I think it's one of those authors you either love it or hate it. But I think I might enjoy it now as an adult and after studying literature. But he has a difficult writing style. So he writes with no, Satzzeichen, often very long sentences. The blurb says, was die Schriftsteller schreiben, ist ja nichts gegen die Wirklichkeit. Ja, sie schreiben, ja, dass alles fürchterlich ist, dass alles verdorben und verkommen ist, dass alles katastrophal ist und dass alles auswegslos ist. Aber alles, das sie schreiben, ist nichts gegen die Wirklichkeit. Die Wirklichkeit ist so schlimm, dass sie nicht beschrieben werden kann. Noch kein Schriftsteller hat die Wirklichkeit so beschrieben, wie sie wirklich ist. Das ist das Fürchterliche. I think I can appreciate this a lot more now, but his language seems to be like really flowing into each other, and it's just like one ocean of words, and I think I was just not open for that in school when I was younger. But I hope that I am now, because I should read this and I should know about this important author. I thought I had bought more books from Austrian authors, but the next ones are actually not from Austrian authors at all, but they are classics nonetheless, and I thought I need them in my collection. So, first of all, Virginia Woolf. This is a double collection. It has A Room of One's Own and 3 Guineas in there. I did read A Room of One's Own, but in the German translation. I want to use A Room of One's Own in my master thesis, but I want to quote it in the original language and not in a German translation, so I thought it's good to buy this in an English copy. Who doesn't love Virginia Woolf? She is exceptional. Her writing style, her ideas and thought process is just, I love it so much, and therefore I got another book by her. This is a very beautiful edition of Virginia Woolf's The Waves, and I have not read this before, so looking forward to it. I have nothing to say really, because also on the back it only said, I am made and remade continually. That's the only thing it says on the back. I think that's really lovely. I often like not to know what a book is about and to just dive into it and then see what happens. And then I walked through the bookstore like a maniac, looking for a book by Edgar Allan Poe. I bought The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe in this little Penguin Classics edition a while ago, and I started reading this without really having the intention to read the whole thing, but it just really sucks you in because it's so amazing, and it's really short, so you can totally read it in one go, even as a very slow reader such as I am. And then I thought, I need more by Edgar Allan Poe, and I didn't see any edition with like some collection of his work or something. I thought, okay, now let's leave it and let's just go. But I couldn't stop thinking of it, and I was like, no, I have to go back. And I think I was in the bookstore for at least 2 hours or more, and then I finally found an edition with several texts of Edgar Allan Poe. It says, the murders in the Rue Morgue I don't even know how to pronounce it, and other tales. Horror, madness, violence, and the dark forces hidden in humanity abound in this collection of Poe's brilliant tales, including, among others, the bloody, brutal, and baffling murder of a mother and daughter in Paris, the creeping insanity of the Telltale Heart, the gothic nightmare of the Mask of the Red Death, and the terrible doom of the Fall of the House of Usher. Very excited to reading this. I absolutely love gothic novels and like a little bit of this horror genre, because I don't like horror in general, but those gothic novels I also loved. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. So yeah, I need to dive into that. I have 2 more from my bookshop journey, and the next one is a classic. It's by Simone de Beauvoir, The Second Sex. And I realized I have never read anything by Simone de Beauvoir. I don't have anything at home by her. But if you are studying like anything with language, literature, or like even other studies that are related, you will come across Simone de Beauvoir. And I think it's really interesting to read her essays and her thoughts. And you know, she was one of the very first women to really say all of this gendered nonsense is basically a construct of society. I made a video about one of the first Austrian activists who is also going into that direction, but a lot earlier than Simone de Beauvoir, for example. Her name is Rosa Mayreder, so if you're interested in that, you might want to check that out. And last but not least, I thought, let's buy something that is not a classic, where I don't feel like I have to read this or like I have to have this in my collection to be able to talk about it for like I don't know, sometimes you have this urge to read books because on an academic level or intellectually you need to have read this. I don't know if that makes sense to any of you, but I have that sometimes, and I think that's okay because you want to be part of the conversation. But I need some books as well that I buy purely for myself, and those are my comfort books, and it's usually fantasy. This is my comfort genre. So I bought The Poppy War, which is also one of the books that is quite hyped at the moment, by R.F. Kuang, but I think this could be something that I'll enjoy. So I bought this book. I don't really know what to expect from it. The blurb says, when Rin aced the Keiyu, not sure how to pronounce it, the test to find the most talented students in the Nikara Empire, it was a shock to everyone. That she got into Seingard, the most elite military school in Nikan, was even more surprising. But surprises aren't always good. Okay, now to round this video up, I have a little collection of the books that I got for my master thesis. They were all secondhand. I bought them on several different platforms online. The first one is simply texts about the theory on authorship. It includes texts by Roland Barthes, the idea of the death of the author, or questioning Qu'est-ce que c'est un auteur? What is an author? By Michel Foucault, and also one important text by Nancy K. Miller. The German title is Wechseln wir das Thema, Subjekt, die Autorschaft, das Schreiben und der Leser. And why I'm mentioning this specific text is because she is looking at the whole authorship concept from a feminist perspective, which a lot of people do not do. And in this whole debate of how important is it to have a look at a text and include the author, it often excludes the question of the gender. And depending on the historical background of the text that you are working with, it can be very vital to speak about gender, especially like the texts that I'm working with, who are from female authors that are mostly forgotten and that already struggled during their time to even publish their work and to be taken seriously. So this is an important debate. Texts about authorship. The next one is just an overview book about the Viennese modernism. What is the Viennese modernism? When did it start? What kind of figures were important in that time? Then we have 2 books that are diaries or like memoirs by the author Rosa Mayreder. We have the red one. These are her diaries from 1873 till 1937, and the other one is called Mein Pantheon, where she's also reflecting on, you know, her childhood, her early years. That's this one. And such primary sources where I don't know the English term, but in German you would say Selbstzeugnisse. This is extremely important for my master thesis. So these are the sources that I'm mostly working with to get to the bottom of how they were able to produce their works and how they were able to publish it as well. Rosa Mayreder, I think you have heard this name quite a lot on this channel now. There is also a biography about Rosa Mayreder. This is not by herself, but written by Hilde Schmölzer, where she is putting together everything we know about this author. All right, and then the second author that I am working with is Else Jerusalem. She wrote a book that is called Der heilige Skarabäus. I also think that the inside of the book is quite pretty because it's white. Looks very nice. And she's the second author that I'm working with in my master thesis. This book is about prostitution. It is set in a brothel and follows the characters who work in there. It was quite the scandal back in the days, also with the question, how does she know so much about their life? And in the back of the book, there is a lot of information about the author because we do not have a lot of sources. For me, this is very important to have a look what is already out there and what am I able to find about her, because I think there are a few letters. There are no diaries, but a few letters that are, I think, in the National Library. I thought I had bought another book about the third author, but I think maybe, that wasn't available, so I had to borrow it from the library. Emily Mataya is the third author, but I think I don't have anything by her yet, but I'm still trying to find it on some of the secondhand platforms. Okay, I don't know where the cover of this book is. Wait, here we have the cover. It's called Eigensinn und Widerstand, Schriftstellerinnen der Habsburger Monarchie. It also focuses on female writers, especially from the Habsburg monarchy. And you have people such as Else Jerusalem, Rosa Mayreder. I think Emily Mataya is not in there, but other important names such as Elsa Arseniev, Helene von Truskowitz, Marie von Eben-Eschenbach, and so on. There is always a little bit of information about the authors and then a primary text by each of the women. And yeah, this is very helpful. So today is a funny day. I think there is one more book that I got, but I don't know where. Oh, there actually is one more book. Hold on. I lied. There are two more books. Okay. This one is another book about female writers. It's called Österreichische Schriftstellerinnen 1800 bis 2000, eine Literaturgeschichte. This one is a little bit of a literature history, but only focusing on Austrian female writers between 1800 and 2000 by Sigrid Schmidt-Bortenschlager. And last but not least, this is not a secondhand book that I bought for my master thesis, but I went to a reading at the Austrian Society for Literature where I once did an internship there, and I love their readings and their little events. It's also very cozy and intimate there. It's a very small room. I really like to go there. And if you're looking for literature events, you can check out Österreichische Gesellschaft für Literatur. And they presented a book by Doris Briem. It's called Eine Frau zwischen gestern und morgen. And this publishing house, it's called Heymon. They're doing a series of authors, female authors that are forgotten and their works. And this author, I had absolutely no idea about her. They're kind of digging out the manuscripts from the archives and the libraries. And this is a very interesting story because it's set in Vienna in 1942. And it tells the stories about so-called submarines, people that were hiding from the Nazi regime out of different reasons. And there is the woman, I believe, the protagonist of the book is hiding them or helping them to hide or to escape. And we do not know how much of it is maybe autobiographic or like inspired by her own life of the author, because there is little information about herself, but they tried to put it all together and also included it in the book after the novel in the back. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this because it really suits my own master project. Let me know what books you are currently reading or you got from the bookstore, the library, or wherever you get your books from. And it is time to finish my tea. Thank you so much for being here. I really mean it. It brings a lot of joy to me to read your comments. And there is also a Ko-fi account where you can support me financially if you can spare a coin. The link is down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye. Today's episode of How to Manipulate. I have the so it also focuses on women. Focuses on women.